Hey, all you game design developers out there, I'm going to go ahead and begin part 2 of my series on Unity Creator Kit first-person shooter game tutorial. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're working on the Creator Kit first-person shooter game. And in our last tutorial, it went a little bit long, but that was because we were getting things set up and we had some issues with getting set up. But we did steps 1 and 2 where we got started with the Creator Kit and we did customize the germ targets. Today I'd like to talk about designing your own level and modifying the doctor's weapons. Okay, so those two, we should be able to get through those in the time that we have available, but we'll see. Quick recap, some of the things that we did is we talked about using Git to track it, the project. We talked about using Unity Hub, and I'm going to close this for a second. And one of the things we did is we tried learning and downloading it, and I had some issues with that. So I think it's best if you're having issues, if this happens, is just go to projects, create a new project. That's what I did. And then what we did is we uploaded the assets from the asset store. We did it right out of Unity. Looks like we already have the project open, so here it is. Great. Couple things you want to think about is when you go to open it, you want to see that FPS kit right there in the menu at the top. If you don't see that, then you're probably going to have issues with this game, and it's a good idea to do it. I'm working with the latest version of Unity right now, which is 2019.3. So we talked a little bit about what we're doing today, but let's just talk about what my goals are. So here are the different goals. We're going to see how many of these that we can do. First of all, I want to recap what we did last time. I want to, which we just did. We're going to be designing a full level. We're going to use a levelLayout GameObject, which is created. It's part of the assets. It's not part of Unity in general, which is too bad, but it is what it is. But it's really going to help build out our level. I'll also tell you that when students of mine have been working on this, this is the area that they have the most trouble with. So it's one of those that we're going to want to look at. We're going to talk about gizmos a little bit, and every now and then it's a good idea to learn a new term. And so we're going to look at what a gizmo is today. We're going to be adding some locked doors and keys to unlock them. And because we're going to be doing a lot of adding levels and things like that, we're going to want to talk about some strategies for testing out your game and making sure things work. We're going to also, if there's time, and that's a question, we're going to modify the doctor's weapons, and then we're going to do all this stuff tracking it with Git. Now, one other thing I want to just point out, I'm going to go to the folder that has the project, which is right here. Let's take a look at the git ignore file. This is just a way of telling Git what we are going to leave alone and what we're not going to track. There's a lot of files we don't want to track. We even added our own to the end. We got this by just Googling Unity git ignore, but I highly recommend you add these three right here. It's going to ignore the really large files. There's other strategies for doing that, but it's going to help. So we're going to go ahead. We talked about Git. We're going to do the git bash here. I don't know what I just did there. And you'll see we also worked on branches last time. I'm going to do a git status and take a look. And this is always the very first git command I do. I want to get a status of what's going on. I can see what branch I'm on and that there's nothing to commit. Great. So we'll just keep this open and we'll just go start working on our Unity tutorial. So let's go back over here. And we're just going to start walking through the design your own level. So here we go. If you want to recap some of the things that we did, you can always look at the tutorial. Let me just show you one thing. I'm going to go back a step. Under Creator Kit FPS, if you look here, you can see a summary. If you log into Unity, you can be tracking your project. So it says we've done 25% of the project. So we're a quarter of the way done. So you can see what we did last time, and you can follow all the steps there. We're going to go to Design Your Own Level. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to design a full level for the game, and we're going to add locked doors and keys which open them. All right, so to design it, which we already had. Okay, so we're going to do this thing called turning off audio gizmos. So gizmos are just graphic overlays that are visible in the scene view. Okay, so what is a gizmo? If you see the little green arrow, the green, blue, red arrow, that's really the move tool. That's a gizmo. This tool over here is a gizmo. If you look over here, when you select, on level layout in the hierarchy and you see all those sphere lines, those are gizmos too. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go in here and we're going to click the gizmos button. So there's this thing that says gizmos way up in the corner, a little drop down. We're going to click it, and what we want to do is we are going to disable the audio reverb zone and the audio zone. It's going to make it easier to work with the level layout. Okay, so let's do that right now. Go over here, click level layout. We're going to zoom out. I'm using the mouse wheel, and you see all those sphere lines? There it is, and there's where it says gizmos. I'm going to click on here, and it was the audio one. So let's double check. Let's double check what it says. Audio reverb zone. Scripts, built-in components. There it is. Audio reverb zone, audio source. Notice how those lines go away. Perfect. Okay, and I actually think these interfere, and I think this is where students miss this step, and this is why they have trouble. Okay, we did that. Okay, so we're going to add new rooms and corridors. So we check to make sure level layout is selected, and then let's take a look. So we click level layout, and there it is, level layout. And we have this group, add component. I'm going to drag this out just a little bit more, and we're going to zoom out a little bit more. All right, so let's just read what we're going to do. Actually, before I do that, let me go back here. I have a lot of students that watch these presentations after the fact, and one of the ways I do evidence is through this thing called the phrase that pays. So I'm going to give you phrase that pays number 1, a definition of gizmos, and this comes right out of Unity, which is just a graphic overlay associated with a game object in a scene and displayed in the scene view. If you want it shorter, we'll just get it right out of here, where it said a gizmo graphic overlays that are visible in the scene view. That's even easier. Graphic overlay, and we'll get rid of the quote, that are visible in the scene view, and I'll say is. Okay, like the move tool or the sphere lines around the brain root. That's phrase that pays number 1. You can pause it, write it down, get your proof that you watched this video, and I'm going to close it out. All right, number 2. Okay, so we're doing a level layout. I'm going to add rooms and corridors. So we have a corridor group and we have a room group. So corridors are going to join between the rooms, and we've got this add, remove. Let's just test and see how easy it is without actually doing anything. I'm going to do a corridor group, and I'm going to click here. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, you move it around and click. Oh, so we could do a straight corridor over here. We could do another one over here. All right, we could branch it off over here. We can mess around with different ones. Oh, look at that. It splits off into 2. That's kind of handy. So this is where it gets cool, because you can go in here and you can do all kinds of edits. Oops, I did not want to do it that way. So how do I remove it? It says press R to change which door of the room used to connect to other room, or you can actually click remove and click it and it's gone. And then I click add, we got it back. Okay, so that's not too hard. So I wanted to do this little curve thing. Yeah, I like the curve. Oh yeah, we can curve back on ourselves. So it's kind of cool. You can kind of change. There's a flip. Oh, cool. And there's a flip Y. Well, that's interesting. Z. No. This is kind of cool. I might want to do that. Okay, so you get the idea. You probably don't want to do too many corridors. I mean, you can. I mean, eventually it would be a great thing to do a lot of corridors. But you're going to find that it can get difficult and unwieldy to work with eventually. So we're just going to do a few. Oh, you know what? Let's do some room groups. Room group. Okay. So here is another brain. Let's remove it. Oh, and let's try the R out. That's like a stomach. Oh yeah, we'll do a stomach there. And what is that? Oh, it looks like a heart. Actually, I think the heart should branch into 2, but whatever. Let's just stick one right there. All right, R. What did R do? Let's go back to corridor groups. We'll click on here. We'll do R. Oh, I see. Cool. So I'm just clicking through the R's. That can be really handy. Okay, so I think you get some ideas as to how you can do this. And I'm going to just click somewhere else. Okay, so now we've added some rooms. And using the level layout, we did corridor groups, we did room groups, and I didn't spend a lot of time going through here because I want to just test some of this out. Let's go ahead and see what we got here. If we go, I think we were facing this way. Let's just see what happens when we go this way. Okay, so you can kind of aim yourself. There's where it branches off into two. And that's what happens when you get to the end. I assume you just get stuck. So those are like those areas where they're kind of closed off to rooms. Like, so there's nothing that's like, they only seem to be open when there's two connecting. Okay, so it's a good idea to kind of test out your room. Oh, let's take a look over here. I didn't even notice there's a little heads up display on the left. That's pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the room. Oh, we didn't inspect what the rooms look like. Okay, so I might go around, I'm gonna edit this a little bit more. And this is where I wanna do some testing. I just wanna make sure everything works the way it was. I tested what this is like, so I know where that's at. And we got a room over here. Let's go back. We'll check out, see if we can check out the heart, see what we see in there. Let's go ahead and run it again. This time we'll turn around. I assume that's the right door. There's the brain. And yeah, there's the heart. You can see the heart, and it looks like, is there another, oh, you can even hear the heartbeat. Looks like we're just kind of stuck in here. There's only one entrance to the heart. I'm going to hit escape. Okay, so I could play around with this a long time, but we got the stomach way over here. So let's do some modifications, and we'll do the room group. Actually, let's go to the corridor group, and let's just do some deleting. So we're going to click remove, and I'm just going to remove some of this stuff. It looks like we can remove a lot. Okay, now I'm going to go back to add, and let's add stomach, which I haven't had a chance to see. So we'll put a stomach there, and then we could also, well, let's just test out and see what the stomach looks like. Shouldn't be too hard. And there's the stomach. Cool. All right, so now we've kind of explored and seen all the rooms. We see that it seems to be working okay. So I think probably now we're going to see if there's anything we missed on here. We talked about add, we talked about remove, there's one design. And obviously I would love for you to take some time to build it out. And if you're one of my students, I would love to have you take a picture of just looking down at your various rooms. So R rotates the room, and it also can snap to different doors, so that's really handy. You can kind of see the doors. Like I said, they're closed until you connect. There's remove, editing layout, and I think we're pretty good. I think it's time to go to the locked door. So to add a locked door to a room, we're going to go to assets. We're going to look at prefabs for door and key. There's a thing called a fat blob, and there's a thing called a key. So the fat blob will act like a lock for your doors in the game. So you're going to drag the fat blob. They misspelled it. It got me confused. You're going to drag it into the scene view, and we're going to position it to block a doorway. And we're going to just block the doorway really close. All right, so let's go ahead and try that out. So it's the fat blob, and it's a door prefab. So we want to go into the Creator Kit assets, and there's prefabs. It's door and key. All right, so I'm going to do another phrase, and that's the fat blob and the key are in do this here. The fat blob and key are in the assets, Creator Kit FPS, prefabs, door and key. Folder. There we go. Just to kind of like where it's located. I don't know. I just figured, you know, you gotta take a look in the assets and find this stuff. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. And so we're looking for the fat blob. So there it is. We've got the fat blob here. But now what we're gonna want to do is let's block this door over here. And just remind you, if you have a little mouse wheel button, that's really handy. And so that's where we're going to put it. So we're just going to drag the fat blob and we're going to stick it in here. Oh, look at that. Right there. And then we're going to use the, well, undo. I want to move it. I think that was the M. No. Move tool. Was it V? Okay. Or you can just click the move tool. That works too. Drag it up. There it is. Looks like it's blocking the door pretty good. Let's take a look sideways. Oh yeah, that's like right there. Fat blob. And it says key needed, key name. Don't leave these things their default settings. Key name. So we can give it a name. Let's see what they suggest. And it says locks are labeled with their key names on the front. Your lock doesn't have a key assigned yet. Save your changes to the game. Okay, well, we'll save our changes. File, save. By the way, when you save and you test, it's good to commit your changes. But we'll wait till we've tested out the whole key mechanic. And we're going to mark that step as complete. We're going to associate a key with the lock. Okay, in the project window, select the key prefab. Drag key into the scene. Okay, so, all right, a couple things I want to go over. Testing. All right, if you want to test this thing out, you want to have like a proof of concept room. Let's say you're just wanting to make sure everything's working okay. You could put your blob way out here, and then you could stick your key in the stomach. But in order to test that key out, all right, that is going to be a real pain. You're going to have to go all the way there, grab the key, go all the way there, and test it out. And if you have a bunch of branches of rooms and corridors and things like that, you're going to possibly even get lost. I've had students try to show me this mechanic, and I had to sit there and watch them play for like 2 minutes before they finally were able to get the right key and prove to me that it worked on the blob. Okay, so it's really important that when you test, make it as convenient as you can, which is the phrase that pays number 3. When testing at the beginning, make it as quick as possible. All right, for example, place the fat blob and its key in the same room. Okay. In fact, it wouldn't hurt to do that anyway in the first room because it will help teach the user how to do it. So you could have one room where you have the key and the blob right there in the same room. And then the user will figure that out pretty quickly. But then when they go to another level, that's where you can put the key in an entirely different area and the fat blob in the other. So, very important when testing, and this is at the beginning, as you're beginning to test, just do it as quickly as possible. Make it convenient for you to test. Okay, make it convenient for you to test. There you go. Okay, so let's get our key. Drag the key. I'm going to put the key right there. Okay, so now we got to associate it. Okay, so we're going to take a look and see what they suggest. I could probably figure it out here. There's a key 1. Key 1. Okay, sure, why not? Key 1, key 1. Let's do that. So we're looking here at the key script, key type, key 1, and then the text, we're going to change it. So we're going to do the key type first. key type first. So you want to go over here. There's the key. You might want to check to see where everything is. So you click the key here, key type, call it key 1. Perfect. And then we're going to go to the fat blob and key type. Look, it automatically appears, key type. Isn't that clever? Key type. So it gets it from the key. Okay, and we're going to want a key name, I assume is the next thing, and we'll just call it key 1. Why not? I'm going to click here, key name text. Think I change it here? Let's try it. You can change the font right here. Did you know that? That's pretty awesome. Then we'll click over here, key type, key name, double click, key 1. You know, I think we put a little space there, don't you think? I think so. Let's go to the fat blob again. That was the key, fat blob, text, key needed, key name, key, key 1. All right, let's just test this out and see if it works. I could read the rest of the tutorial, but I think I know where they're going with it. Uh-oh, key 1, what's our problem? It's reversed. Let's fix that. This is why we test. All right, it's going to be very confusing if it says key 1 and it's backwards. All right, how could we reverse this? Okay, first thing we want to do is we're going to move it up so it's kind of floating in space. And then there is the transform. If we want to change its position, rotation, or size, we do it with the transform. Okay, so the question is, are we rotating it along the x-axis, the y-axis, or the z-axis? Well, here's one way to find out. Click here and drag it to the left, drag it to the right. No. Okay, how about the y? Left, right. Nope. And are we on the whole key object? I'm going to do a Control Z. Make sure I've got the key. Okay, and then let's try the Z. Oh, I guess I was wrong on there. Y. Okay, so we want to turn it around 180 degrees. Is that in degrees? It is. See, it says key 1. There you go. So use a little math, use a little intuition. On our key, we had to change the Y. To flip the key around so we could read it, we set it to a Y of 180. So that's what we did in the 4. We set the transform rotation Y to 180 to make the text face the player. So that's just one of the things that we did to solve it. So I like that, the fact that you can kind of mess around with these values here and test it out. Let's play it now. So, okay, a couple things about testing. Let me just pause this for a second. A couple things about testing. What do we need to test on here? Okay, and first of all, let's get this blob out of the way. Okay, let's be smart about this. Okay. Okay, when we create a mechanic, like a key that unlocks a door, right? There are a couple things that we're going to need to test for. Number 1, can we get through the door with the fat blob there? If we can't, that's the first thing we've proven works right. Because the whole point of putting this here is so we can't get through the door unless we have the key. Step 2, we should test that we can get the key in the first place. If we collide with it, do we get the key? And that'll be pretty obvious, and it'll just disappear. That's test number 2. And test number 3, can we now get through the key blob? Now, those are the 3 tests. So let's test all of those out. This is why we want to make our test convenient. So first things first. I'm going to try to get past here. I'm not going to get the key. Key needed. Key needed. Can't shoot it. All right. Key 1. Do we still have the key? Key's gone. Test number 2 works. Test number 3. What happens when we collide? Oh, look at that. It disappears, and now we can go through the room. So we have just proven that the key door mechanic works. Okay, and I think that's a great way to set up the first room anyway. Okay, so now's a good time to save our changes. Okay, and honestly, I think probably what you would want to do is when you're doing Git and version control, I think if you're following a tutorial like this that has different steps, you should probably commit at the end of each step. So I probably should have already committed when I added the new rooms and corridors, but I didn't. So we're just going to go ahead and add it now. So we're going to just go ahead and capture all the things that we did. So we're going to do a git status. And interestingly enough, after all the changes we did, the only thing that seems to have changed in here was just the scene level 1. You might have thought, oh, we changed a lot of other things, but we really didn't. Nothing else has really changed. We didn't change any prefabs. We just modified scene level 1. Okay, git add dot. We could put, or we could do star.unity. That's another way of adding. This would add every changed file, or stage, I should say. It's add, but we're adding to the commit stack. And this means everything that ends with a .unity, which is what we can see right here. Rather than type all of this out, which would be a real pain. That's a quick way of doing it. Now we can do a git status, and we'll see that it's green. Now we can do a git commit. So now we're going to commit this, take a snapshot, a history of this. Adding rooms and corridors, as well as a lock and key mechanic. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and push that through. Git push origin dev. So honestly, let's go through the git commands I did today. Once I'm done doing this. Cool thing is you do up arrow. So the first thing was git status. That's 1. We did git add star.unity. We did another status, but git commit and then git push. So that's just 4 commands you need to do over and over. Those are the only commands you do from here on out for a while. Okay, so it's git status, git add, git commit, git push. All right, so there's our phrase that pays number 5 when working with Git. You only need actually 3 commands. And that's add, commit, push. And it's just kind of in general. All right, so we completed the tutorial. Now, I want you in the next, when you have open time after watching this and you want to develop it, your next goal would be to start developing this level. Adding more corridors, more keys, more rooms, more bad dudes. Okay, and I'm not going to go into any great deal about doing that because I think I've demonstrated enough. I think you can get this to work. All right, so we're going to move on to the final one, and let's see how long it takes to modify the doctor's weapons. I'm going to give myself about no more than 10 minutes. Okay, how do you create a new weapon, customize its functionality, and make it available to the player? So, to make a new weapon, Doctor has to face more challenging targets. It's time to enhance their tools for germ destruction. In this section, you'll modify the weapons available in the game to give your player more options. To create a new weapon prefab, all right, so we're back to creating prefabs. We're going to go to Asset Creator Kit, Prefabs, Weapon. All right, and then we're going to select the Germo-Blaster prefab, and we're going to copy it. Control D is actually going to duplicate. So we're going to make a copy. We're going to duplicate the Germo-Blaster. All right, so let's do that. Here's the assets, prefabs, weapons. Germo-Blaster, Control D. that duplicates it. So now we have 2 of these Germo blasters. Okay, pretty straightforward. Click on the copy name, select it, press F2 or return. Give your new weapon a different name. What are we going to call it? What did they call theirs? Germo blaster, weapon. And it give us a name for it. I'm just trying to see. Oh, they have a Heelmatic Germo blaster, pill projectile, Germo blaster. We could call it a germ cannon. And how do we do the name again? Double check. We did the duplicate F2. So Windows. See, there we go. For now, we'll call it germ cannon. Okay, there it is. Save our changes. Control S. Adjust your new weapon prefab. The original Germo blaster has an automatic high-speed firing with lots of medicine ammunition. Let's make the new weapon a single shot per trigger press with less ammunition but higher damage. Well, if it's single shot, it's more like a germ shotgun. Well, germ cannon, that would work. Okay. All right. So now we're going to double click on the new weapon or click the Open Prefab button. Oh, interesting. So I click here, Open Prefab. There it is. That's pretty cool. I like the Open Prefab. So now we're just looking at the weapon. We're not looking at anything else. We're not looking at the scene at all. We're in the prefab mode. So any changes we make to this, we're back and we're going to do the prefab of the shotgun or germ cannon. I double clicked it this time. Okay, what are we going to do? All right, so in the inspector, find the weapon component. That's this. It's a script, by the way. So we're going to change the trigger type to manual. And click here from auto to manual. Now the weapon will only fire once when the trigger is pressed instead of firing as fast as it can. We're going to change the clip size from 30 to 8. Just type in 8. There it is. We're going to change the damage from 0.5 to 5. And now that you've created a new type of weapon, save the prefab using the keyboard shortcut or click the save button. Maybe that's what I didn't do. Where's the save button? On top right corner of the scene view. Scene autosave. Okay, it must just be saved automatically. Well, let's see what happens. If I get out of here and I go to the weapons prefabs and I go to germ cannon, yep, it's still manual, damage of 5, clip size of 8. All right, so we're going to exit prefab mode. I've already done that. Okay, make your weapon available to the player. Now that you've successfully created another germ-busting weapon, make it available to the player. I'm going to select the character object, find the controller, starting weapons. I'm going to expand it, selecting the small arrow to the left of its name. We'll drop that down, change the size from 3 to 4. So we're going to add a new one. I'm going to drag it to the last element that appears. Okay, so we're looking for the character, which is there's character, but let me just collapse these little dudes. Character. Click on the character. Materials, lighting, controller script. I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing, right? Weapon camera, weapon position, starting weapons, I think is what they said. Yep. So I'm going to change that to 4, not 43. Click. There it is. So on element 3, we're going to change this. Select weapon. Germ cannon. Well, there's germ cannon. asset scene. Okay, well, okay, when that happens, we've got germ cannon. I'm going to just drag it here, and then germo blaster. We drag there. Okay, so we have the Hillmatic, germ blaster, pill, germ cannon. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can test it out. Okay, hold on. I forgot to see how I test it out. Use the mouse wheel or the 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, it always helps to know how we're supposed to change weapons. Helomatic, pill, Helomatic 500, germ cannon. Oh, it did, yeah. Cool. Okay, I think we've done it. I'm going to save our changes. I'm going to mark this step as complete. We did it. We are done. Okay, last thing, we're going to make sure we go back to the get add. Now let's do a get status. Now you can see a lot more has changed. We've changed prefabs. All these prefabs, we've changed the scene, and we've got some files that are new, right? So these are new. They have been changed but not documented. Git add dot adds everything. Git commit adding germ cannon weapon. Git push origin dev. And one thing we can do is we can just double check to make sure everything got through. GitHub FPS, less than a minute ago, 2 commits, 2 branches, dev, 8 commits on the dev branch. There it is, adding germ cannon weapon, adding rooms and corridors, as well as lock and key mechanics. So that's the work we did today. And so I just want to say thanks for following along with me. Don't forget those phrases that pays. Don't forget to get credit for having watched this video. Stay tuned. I think we can finish it in one more video and we'll be done. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Take care and watch those videos.